The schoolyard was filled with the usual chaos of kids running, laughing, and shouting, but one corner was different. A small boy sat alone on the steps, head down, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. He tried to ignore the taunts coming from a group of older kids nearby, but their cruel words echoed in his mind. What happened next would not only silence the bullies, but also change his life forever, because standing nearby, unnoticed by anyone, was Dwayne The Rock Johnson. The sun beat down on the schoolyard as the boy, no older than 12, kept his eyes fixed on the crumpled paper in his hands. His name was Ethan, and the paper was his journal, a private place where he wrote about his dreams of becoming a professional wrestler. But now it was a source of shame, torn and scribbled on by the bullies who had taken it from him earlier. A group of older boys stood a few feet away, laughing and throwing taunts his way. "What kind of loser writes about fake fighting?" one of them jeered. "You think you're going to be the next WWE star? Dream on." Ethan's face burned with humiliation, but he stayed silent, hoping they'd eventually lose interest. What he didn't notice was the tall, muscular figure leaning against a nearby fence, watching the scene unfold. Dwayne Johnson, known to the world as The Rock, had been visiting the school for an upcoming charity event. He was supposed to meet with the principal, but he'd taken a moment to observe the schoolyard, reminiscing about his own childhood struggles. And then he saw Ethan. The scene hit close to home. Dwayne had been that kid once, the one who didn't quite fit in, who felt small despite his size. He clenched his jaw, his protective instincts kicking in. The bullies grew louder, their taunts more cruel. "Maybe we should teach him some moves," one sneered, stepping closer to Ethan. Before they could go any further, a deep, commanding voice rang out across the yard. "Hey guys, what's going on here?" The bullies froze, their smug expressions melting into wide-eyed shock as they turned to see The Rock himself walking toward them. His sheer presence was enough to make the group take a collective step back. Ethan looked up, his teary eyes widening in disbelief. "You're Dwayne Johnson?" he stammered. Dwayne knelt beside him, his voice kind but firm. "That's me, buddy. You okay?" Ethan nodded shakily, his eyes darting between Dwayne and the now silent bullies. The older kids mumbled excuses and began to scatter, but Dwayne's deep voice stopped them in their tracks. "Hold up," he said, straightening to his full height. "You've got something to say to him, don't you?" The bullies froze, their earlier bravado completely replaced by fear and embarrassment. Dwayne stood tall, his broad shoulders casting a shadow over the group, his arms crossed as he waited for a response. His piercing gaze left no room for argument. "Well?" Dwayne asked, his voice calm but firm. "Apologize." The boys exchanged nervous glances. Finally, the tallest one, clearly the ringleader, muttered, "We were just joking around." "Did it look like he was laughing?" Dwayne countered, his tone sharp. The boys shrank further under his intense stare. "If you've got the guts to tear someone down, you'd better have the guts to make it right." The leader hesitated before mumbling, "Sorry." "Say it like you mean it," Dwayne said, his voice a little softer now but still commanding. The boy took a deep breath and turned to Ethan. "I'm sorry," he said, louder this time. The other boys followed suit, each stammering an apology before shuffling away, their heads hanging low. Dwayne watched them go before turning back to Ethan, his expression softening. He knelt again, so they were eye level. "You good, champ?" Ethan nodded slowly, still clutching the torn journal. "I think so," he said quietly. Dwayne noticed the crumpled paper in Ethan's hands and gestured to it. "What's that?" Ethan hesitated, his face flushing with embarrassment. "It's nothing," he muttered. "Doesn't look like nothing," Dwayne said with a small smile. "Mind if I take a look?" Ethan hesitated but handed over the paper. Dwayne unfolded it carefully, smoothing out the creases. His eyes scanned the page, and a slow smile spread across his face. It was filled with notes and sketches, dreams of wrestling moves, plans for training, and a list of potential ring names. "You want to be a wrestler?" Dwayne asked, holding the paper up. Ethan's cheeks burned red, and he looked down at his shoes. "Yeah," he admitted softly. "But they're right. It's stupid. I'll never make it." Dwayne's expression grew serious. "Hey," he said, his voice low but powerful. "Don't ever say that. Everyone starts somewhere, even me." Ethan blinked up at him. "You?" Dwayne nodded, his smile returning. You think I just woke up one day and became The Rock? Nah, man. I was just a kid with a dream too. Ethan's eyes widened as he stared at Dwayne, struggling to imagine someone as successful as The Rock ever feeling like him, small, unsure, and out of place. You had a hard time too? He asked hesitantly. Dwayne chuckled softly, sitting down on the steps beside Ethan. You bet I did, he said. When I was your age, I got picked on too. We moved around a lot, and I was always the new kid. I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the strongest, and I definitely wasn't the coolest. Ethan tilted his head, disbelief written all over his face. You weren't? Dwayne laughed. Nope. In fact, there was a time when I got in trouble for fighting, just trying to prove myself to people who didn't matter. You know what that taught me? He paused, giving Ethan a moment to think. It taught me that what really matters isn't what other people think. It's what you believe about yourself. Ethan nodded slowly, processing the words. But it's hard, he admitted, his voice small. When they keep saying, I'll never be good enough. Dwayne placed a massive hand on Ethan's shoulder, the warmth and weight of it reassuring. I know it's hard, he said, but those voices, they don't define you. You do. And if you believe in yourself and work hard, you can prove every single one of them wrong. Ethan glanced at the crumpled journal in Dwayne's other hand. You think I can really do it? He asked, his voice laced with hope but also doubt. I know you can, Dwayne said firmly, but it's going to take commitment. Wrestling's no joke. It's about heart, discipline, and never giving up, no matter how tough it gets. Ethan sat up a little straighter, the spark of determination flickering in his eyes. I want to try, he said. I want to show them I can do it. Dwayne grinned, his energy contagious. That's what I'm talking about, champ. He handed the journal back to Ethan, who held it tightly, as if it had suddenly become more than just paper. It was a symbol of possibility. But, Dwayne added, his tone playful but serious, if you're going to chase this dream, you need someone in your corner. What do you say? Want me on your team? Ethan's jaw dropped. You'd help me? Dwayne winked. We're in this together, buddy. Ethan stared at Dwayne, his heart pounding. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. The Rock, a wrestling legend, a global superstar, was offering to help him. It felt like a dream, but the warmth in Dwayne's voice told him it was real. You really mean it? Ethan asked, his voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and excitement. Absolutely, Dwayne said, grinning. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you, champ. This isn't an easy road. You're going to have to work hard, face challenges, and stay focused. You up for it? Ethan nodded vigorously, the fire in his chest growing stronger. Yes, I'll do whatever it takes. That's what I like to hear, Dwayne said, giving him a fist bump. First thing we need to do is turn this journal into a plan. You got big ideas in here, and now it's time to make them happen. Ethan's face lit up. For the first time in a long time, he felt seen, believed in, and supported. What do we do first? Well, Dwayne began, leaning back slightly as if deep in thought. We start with the basics: fitness, discipline, learning the fundamentals of wrestling. But more than anything, it's about mindset. You have to believe you can do this, even when it feels impossible. Ethan clutched the journal to his chest, nodding again. I'll try my best. That's all I ask, Dwayne said, smiling warmly. Now, I've got to finish my visit here, but I want you to take this as your first step. Hold your head high. Those bullies, they've got nothing on you. You've got something they don't. Heart. Ethan's smile widened, his confidence beginning to bloom. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. For everything. Call me Dwayne, he said with a chuckle, standing up and towering over Ethan. And remember, this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Ethan nodded, his heart swelling with hope. As Dwayne walked toward the school's administrative building, Ethan sat on the steps, staring at his journal. For the first time, the dreams scribbled on its pages felt like they could truly come to life. A few weeks later, Ethan found himself standing in front of a local gym, his heart racing with anticipation. True to his word, Dwayne had arranged for Ethan to meet a professional wrestling trainer who would guide him through the basics. The gym wasn't glamorous, just a no-frills space with weight machines, mats, and a small wrestling ring in the corner. But to Ethan, it was perfect. Welcome to your new second home, the trainer said with a grin as Ethan stepped inside. He was a stocky man with a booming voice and a kind smile. "Name's Coach Martinez. Dwayne told me you've got big dreams, kid." Ethan nodded, clutching his gym bag tightly. "Yes, sir. I want to be a wrestler." Coach Martinez laughed. "Good. You've got heart. I can see it already. But let me warn you, this is going to be tough. Wrestling's not just about strength. It's about discipline, resilience, and a whole lot of sweat. You ready for that?" Ethan took a deep breath, remembering Dwayne's words. "Believe in yourself." He nodded firmly. "I'm ready." "Good answer," the coach said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Let's get started." The next few weeks were some of the hardest of Ethan's life. Coach Martinez put him through rigorous training sessions, teaching him the fundamentals of wrestling, grappling techniques, proper footwork, and how to take a fall without getting hurt. Every session left Ethan exhausted, but he refused to give up. Meanwhile, Dwayne stayed in touch, calling or texting Ethan to check on his progress. "How's my champ doing?" he'd ask, his voice filled with encouragement. Ethan would excitedly share his milestones, the first time he executed a perfect suplex, the day he ran a full mile without stopping, and Dwayne would cheer him on like a proud big brother. One evening, after an especially grueling session, Ethan slumped onto the gym mat, sweat dripping from his forehead. "This is harder than I thought," he admitted to Coach Martinez. The coach knelt beside him, handing him a water bottle. "It's supposed to be," he said. "If it were easy, everyone would do it. But you've got something special, Ethan. You're willing to fight for this." Ethan looked up, his exhaustion fading into determination. "I'll keep going," he said. "I'm not stopping." "That's the spirit," Coach Martinez said with a grin. "And remember, you've got someone in your corner who believes in you more than anyone." Ethan nodded, thinking of Dwayne. "I won't let him down." Ethan's progress in the gym was steady, and each day he felt stronger, more confident, and closer to his dream. But one afternoon, as he laced up his sneakers in the corner of the gym, he heard a familiar deep voice echo across the room. "All right, coach, let's see what the champ's got." Ethan's head shot up, and his jaw dropped. Standing in the doorway, larger than life, was Dwayne Johnson himself. He wore a casual workout outfit, but his presence commanded the attention of everyone in the gym. Conversations stopped, weights clattered back into place, and all eyes turned toward The Rock. "Dwayne!" Ethan exclaimed, scrambling to his feet. "What are you doing here?" Dwayne grinned as he walked over, clapping Coach Martinez on the shoulder before turning to Ethan. "I had to see for myself how my guy is doing. Coach says you've been working hard." Ethan's cheeks flushed with pride. "I have. It's been tough, but I'm not giving up." "That's what I'd like to hear," Dwayne said, nodding in approval. "You've got the heart of a champion, and now it's time to show me what you've learned." Ethan blinked, his excitement quickly morphing into nervousness. "You want me to show you?" "Absolutely," Dwayne said, stepping toward the wrestling mat. "I didn't come all this way just to watch. Let's see those moves, champ." Ethan looked at Coach Martinez, who gave him an encouraging nod. "You've got this, kid," the coach said. "Show him what you've been working on." Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped onto the mat. Dwayne joined him, crouching slightly and extending his arms in a mock wrestling stance. "All right, let's see what you've got," Dwayne said, his grin playful. The other gym-goers gathered around, their excitement palpable as Ethan squared off with one of the greatest wrestlers in history. The moment felt surreal, but Ethan's focus was laser-sharp. He executed a perfect takedown, followed by a series of moves Coach Martinez had drilled into him. When he finished, Dwayne clapped his hands together and let out a booming laugh. "That was incredible, Ethan," he said. "You've been putting in the work, and it shows." Ethan beamed, his heart pounding with pride. "Thanks, Dwayne. I couldn't have done it without you and Coach." Dwayne placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, his expression serious. "You did this, Ethan. You believed in yourself and made it happen. That's what it takes to be great." After the impromptu session on the mat, the gym was buzzing with energy. Dwayne took a moment to chat with some of the other gym-goers, signing autographs and taking pictures. Meanwhile, Ethan sat on the sidelines, still trying to process what had just happened. He had sparred with The Rock. It felt like a dream. "Ethan!" Dwayne called out, waving him over. "Come here, champ." Ethan jogged over, his heart still racing from the excitement. "Yeah?" Dwayne's grin widened. So, I've been thinking, you've been putting in the work, and I think it's time we take this to the next level. Ethan tilted his head, confused but intrigued. What do you mean? I mean, it's time for your debut, Dwayne said, his voice filled with enthusiasm. There's a local amateur wrestling event happening in a couple of weeks. I pulled some strings and got you a spot on the card. Ethan's eyes widened and his jaw dropped. You mean, I get to wrestle in front of people? Dwayne laughed, clapping him on the back. That's right. You've been training hard, and now it's time to show the world what you've got. Ethan's mind raced. He felt equal parts excitement and fear. What if I mess up? He asked hesitantly. Dwayne knelt down so they were eye level. Listen to me, Ethan. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, giving it your all, and having fun. No matter what happens, you've already won because you believed in yourself enough to try. Coach Martinez chimed in, his tone reassuring. You're ready, kid. We've been preparing for this. Ethan took a deep breath, his nerves beginning to settle. Okay, he said, a small but determined smile spreading across his face. Let's do it. That's my guy, Dwayne said, pulling Ethan into a quick hug. Now, let's start working on your entrance. Every wrestler needs a good entrance. The gym erupted into laughter, the moment lighthearted yet filled with purpose. Ethan could hardly believe how far he'd come, and now, with Dwayne and Coach Martinez in his corner, he felt unstoppable. The weeks leading up to the wrestling event flew by in a blur of intense training, planning, and anticipation. Ethan worked harder than ever, perfecting his moves, practicing his entrance, and even picking out his wrestling gear. Dwayne and Coach Martinez were by his side every step of the way, pushing him when he doubted himself and reminding him of how far he'd come. Finally, the big day arrived. The venue wasn't massive, just a community center packed with folding chairs and a simple wrestling ring. But to Ethan, it felt like Madison Square Garden. The crowd buzzed with excitement as families, friends, and fans of local wrestlers filled the room. Backstage, Ethan paced nervously, his hands shaking as he adjusted his gear. What if I mess up? He asked for the 100th time. Dwayne, leaning casually against the wall, smiled. Ethan, let me tell you something. Every great wrestler, every great performer has felt what you're feeling right now. It means you care, and that's a good thing. Coach Martinez nodded. You've put in the work. Now, all you have to do is go out there and have fun. Trust yourself. Ethan took a deep breath, their words giving him the courage he needed. Okay, he said, his voice steady. I'm ready. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, introducing Ethan's opponent first, a local favorite who entered the ring to cheers and chants. Then it was Ethan's turn. The lights dimmed, the music started, and the announcer's voice filled the room. And now, making his debut, Ethan the Underdog Daniels. The crowd erupted as Ethan stepped onto the stage, his heart pounding in his chest. He raised his arms, a mixture of adrenaline and disbelief coursing through him as he walked down the ramp. Dwayne and Coach Martinez watched from the sidelines, cheering him on. As Ethan climbed into the ring, he took one final deep breath, the noise of the crowd fading into the background. This was his moment, a chance to prove to himself and everyone watching that he belonged here. The bell rang, and the match began. The match started with a burst of energy as Ethan's opponent charged forward. The crowd roared, their excitement filling the small venue. Ethan kept his nerves in check, relying on the countless hours of training with Coach Martinez. He dodged the initial strike, his movements quick and calculated. For the first few minutes, Ethan held his ground, countering moves and landing a few strikes of his own. The crowd began to cheer louder, sensing his determination. From the sidelines, Dwayne clapped and shouted encouragement. That's it, champ! Stay focused! But as the match went on, Ethan found himself struggling to keep up with his opponent's size and experience. A heavy takedown left him sprawled on the mat, gasping for air. The referee started the countdown, and for a moment, Ethan's confidence wavered. From the corner of the ring, he heard Dwayne's booming voice. Get up, Ethan! You've got this! Remember why you're here! Ethan gritted his teeth, Dwayne's words igniting a spark inside him. He rolled to his side and pushed himself to his feet just before the referee reached 10. The crowd erupted in cheers, their energy feeding his resolve. His opponent smirked, clearly impressed by Ethan's resilience. Not bad, kid, he muttered, circling him. Ethan squared his shoulders, his eyes blazing with determination. I'm just getting started. The match continued, and Ethan began to find his rhythm. He remembered everything Coach Martinez had taught him: the techniques, the timing, the importance of staying calm under pressure. A perfectly executed grapple brought the crowd to their feet, and for the first time, Ethan felt like he truly belonged in the ring. As the match neared its climax, Ethan found himself locked in a struggle with his opponent. Every muscle in his body screamed with exhaustion, but he refused to give up. With one final surge of energy, he executed the move he'd practiced countless times in the gym, a flawless suplex that left his opponent stunned on the mat. The referee slammed the mat. 1, 2, 3. The bell rang, and the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Ethan's arm was raised in victory, and the cheers of "Underdog! Underdog!" filled the room. He couldn't believe it. He had done it. From the sidelines, Dwayne and Coach Martinez beamed with pride. Dwayne raised both fists in the air, shouting, "That's my champ!" Ethan stood in the center of the ring, his chest heaving with exhaustion, but his heart soaring with pride. He scanned the crowd, seeing his dream come to life before his eyes. As Ethan stepped out of the ring, the applause still thundered in his ears. He was greeted by Coach Martinez, who pulled him into a tight hug. "You did it, kid," the coach said, his voice filled with pride. "You've got the heart of a real wrestler." Dwayne was next, lifting Ethan off the ground in a celebratory bear hug. "That was incredible, champ," he said, his grin stretching from ear to ear. "You just showed everyone here, and yourself, that you're the real deal." Ethan laughed breathlessly, still trying to process what had just happened. "I couldn't have done it without you guys," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Dwayne crouched down to Ethan's level, his hands resting on the boy's shoulders. "Listen to me, Ethan," he said, his tone serious but warm. "You did this. You believed in yourself, you put in the work, and you showed up when it mattered. That's what makes a champion, not the win, but the fight." Ethan nodded, his eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for everything." The crowd continued to cheer as Ethan made his way backstage, high-fiving fans and soaking in the energy of the moment. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't just a kid with a dream. He was a wrestler. Later that evening, as the gym cleared out and the excitement began to settle, Ethan sat with Dwayne and Coach Martinez, flipping through his now tattered journal. The pages were filled with notes, sketches, and plans for his future. "What's next, champ?" Dwayne asked, leaning back in his chair. Ethan grinned, his confidence shining through. "I keep going," he said. "This is just the beginning." Dwayne nodded, his expression filled with pride. "That's what I like to hear." As the night wore on, Ethan realized that the journal in his hands wasn't just a collection of ideas. It was a symbol of how far he'd come and how far he could go. With Dwayne and Coach Martinez in his corner, he knew the sky was the limit. This story reminds us that dreams can become reality with hard work, resilience, and the support of those who believe in us. Have you ever chased a dream that felt out of reach? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring tales.